Hello, good afternoon. It's Monday the 14th of March and I'm camping in some woods near Weston-super-Mare this evening. I'm very aware that I haven't camped since just before Christmas. There's a few reasons for that. I wanted to, I just couldn't find 2 consecutive days where either I had the time free or it wasn't raining, and then we had some very strong winds in the UK. I've just got the train over from my hometown Bath. I got the train from my local station Oldfield Park, changed at Bristol Temple Meads, then got a connection to Weston-super-Mare, and I've ridden about 3.5 miles from the town centre up here. I stopped and got chips on the seafront, nearly got an ice cream. It's a lovely, almost early summer day. It felt very, very holidayish. I'm doing a camp tonight because I want to sort of try out a few things. Firstly, I've modified my Woodburner, the Woods Walker. It had a very, very long chimney flue, and it gives you guy ropes and pegs to peg it out. But a similar stove by another manufacturer recommends you shorten the flue to adapt to your tent, and what they suggest is you find the highest point on the TP tent, the apex, basically just measure it against the pole, and plus 15 inches. So I've done 16 inches, and then it's such a thin, sort of almost like a membrane titanium. I just cut it with scissors, and I'm hoping there'll be no more need for guy ropes, because first of all it was hard to roll the flue. Anyway, so I did that at home with the help of my lovely assistant Linda. Burnt it in again, so both ends are shape formed. It rolled out ever so easily today, so I'm going to try that tonight. Hopefully no more guy ropes, and it also doesn't look as horrible as well. It looks more in proportion. So first of all, the camp, and secondly, I'm getting ready for my June heritage tour. More about that later, but because I want to go fairly lightweight on that, and also take my bike on a train. That was the idea today. Coming here, I rode by recently, I saw it, I thought, hey, that'd make a good place for camp when the time allows. So today is that time. Got the train over to just find out what it's like booking a ticket and get my bike on the train. No issues whatsoever getting here. And then, because I want to ride the June tour fairly light with just 2 rear panniers, I booked my first and my last night in a travel lodge, and then the intermediate nights, I think there's going to be 5, I'm just going to bivvy. And although my bivvy is waterproof, it's hooped, I'm probably going to want some form of shelter, so I'm just practicing my bivvy and basic shelter erection skills. I mean, I haven't done it for years, so I bought my poles out and some guy ropes. I have got a much bigger tarpaulin actually. I didn't really want to bring that out tonight, and so just erected a very small little shelter. I might even play around and do some different shapes. So really it was just a trial run, really, just to see how everything's going, test my stove, test taking the bike on the train, test my shelter making skills, and just really enjoy the camp. So more about the camping and what I'm eating for tea tonight as it gets dark. That's my logs all split. I don't bring an axe cycle touring because I found it's just a bit heavy. Having said that, the machete's almost as heavy, but it certainly does the job okay. The blades I've got with me, it's my Highlander camping knife. That's normally okay for everything, but I remember just for Christmas when I camped up on Bannerdown, it took about 15 strikes just to split a log in half with that, and I just realised I needed something more substantial. I've got my trusty backhoe folding saw, but to just chop the logs now I've brought a machete along. I've actually keep those razor sharp all the time, and I just literally scraped that on the Guinness tin. A few minutes later I thought, gosh, it's raining. I could feel sort of like drizzle on me. I suddenly realised that tastes like Guinness, and it was spraying out. It had just nicked the can. That's how sharp these are. Obviously I take great care, not with Guinness cans obviously. They all go back in their sheaths or fold up straight away, and I wear gloves as well for handling wood and processing it. There, all safely folded and back in their sheaths. And as I said, I use gloves for everything, chopping the wood, gathering it. I've made 3 piles in the tent, tinder, middle-sized woods, bit bigger than pepperoni diameter, just to get it sort of really going. And then I've got my logs for later on. But it just shows all I did was just touch the blade, the teeth of the folding saw on that very, very slightly, and it pierced the can. Very, very minuscule, but enough to force out a jet of Guinness. So I'm drinking the first of my Guinness cans early tonight. These are lovely woods. Right over the cliff edge is Sand Bay. I camped over at Sand Point, roughly in that direction. The road literally runs where I took the bus out to Sand Point, right underneath this wood, a couple of 100 feet down. So you come up here, these really dense woods. Look at this, what a beautiful spot. Such a gorgeous day as well. As I've said, I haven't been camping since just before Christmas. This has been well worth the wait. I've got my frying pan with me. I'm going to try and do all the cooking on the Woodburner. I have got the Trangia Mini with me and some maths as a backup. Tonight I've got sweet and sour chicken with rice and a couple of chocolate puddings which I can just boil in some water and steam. Tomorrow morning I've got a fry up. I've got sausages, bacon, mushrooms, beans and some ketchup. Again, hopefully on the Woodburner. As I get in the tent and it darkens and I've got a few hours to kill, I'll maybe just tell you a little bit about the update about my plans for June. I've booked my rail tickets, and as I referred to earlier on, I've booked the first and the last night's travel lodge, so I'm pretty committed to going. And I spent a few wet Saturday afternoons in January just on my computer doing tons of research, and I've located lots of places. I'll tell you more about that after my meal. Oh, I just realised I need to open the second vent as well, so you can see, unless there's really strong wind, that's not going to be wobbling too much. I hope not anyway. My meal, I'm doing sweet and sour chicken in rice. So I've got a chicken breast in here which I just need to dice up a little bit. That's it. Really nice bite-sized mouthful chunks as usual. Raw meat. Wipe hands thoroughly and clean them. Time to light the stove then, so I've wedged the door open. I picked up a free newspaper at Ultra Park Station and I've scrunched it up a couple of pages. Got some kindling in there. Then I've got 3 piles of wood, the twigs to kindling, medium parts, and then my logs which I chopped earlier on. And I've got these fire starters here, so hopefully no problems getting the wood burner going tonight. That's flared up quite nicely after just 30 seconds, so I'll start putting this small kindling on, then go to medium before I put a log on. I've already got my pots with some water in. In fact, the rear one, the big one, has got the rice in already. Then there's a pot there for some hot water for washing up. Loads of dry wood on the forest floor. Right, see how that goes. The stove's taken quite nicely, the water's halfway boiled. I just stopped filming actually to watch the BBC headlines. It's amazing having 4G, just watch the 6 o'clock news. Okay, I think we're ready for the chicken to go on. It's going really well now. Rice is boiling, just simmering it for about 7 or 8 minutes. Just browning the chicken before I pour the sauce in. Oh, that chicken's starting to brown and smell really nice. Because I'm camping on a wood burner, I just want to make sure it really is golden brown before I pour the sauce in. Uncle Ben's sweet and sour sauce. There we are then for my meal. Bang on 7 PM. Sweet and sour chicken in a bed of rice with some Guinness, and I've got a couple of chocolate puddings for my dessert. I've had my dinner, done all my washing up. I'm not even sure if I'm going to want pudding. It was very, very filling, that meal. I did say I'd give an update on my plan for my June tour. So I've mentioned it briefly a couple of times. I'm going to travel to East Anglia and locate, hopefully, some First World War pillboxes. I didn't even know they existed until a couple of years ago. That's the great thing about networking through YouTube. One of my buddies, Tom Outdoors, told me about them. He went to look at one, and unlike the ones I'm very familiar with, the Second World War pillboxes, these First World War ones were on the East Anglia coast, and they were either circular or hexagonal. That could be where the name comes from, because they were very similar to tablet dispensers at the time, pillboxes, or even it could be slang for pillar box. You know, historians can't agree on that, so I'm not going to make a judgment. In the end, I've actually located 26. They're a mix of circular and hexagonal. Whether I get to all 26 or not, I don't know. So a bit about the itinerary. I've booked my train from Bath Spa to Ipswich, and then the first night at Ipswich Travelodge, I'm going to go around the coast in this quite intricate little route, trying to locate them. And then my final night, I've booked into a Travelodge at King's Lynn, and then I've got the train back from King's Lynn to Bath Spa. On the way out, when I travel from Bath Spa to Ipswich, I have to change in London, and I cycle across London, and there just so happens to be 6 World War I memorials managed by English Heritage, and they just almost coincide with the route between Paddington and Liverpool Street, the 2 stations. I'm going to visit those hopefully on the journey across London. I really got a huge kick last year from dressing up as a Roman centurion, and I briefly wondered could I go in fancy dress, and I just thought it'd be in really poor taste, and so I'm not. What I did decide is I'm going to leave a knitted poppy at every memorial in London and all the pillboxes that I can locate. My wife's knitted me a big bag, 30 plus of them. Here's a picture. Whether they stay there, whether they're removed, whether they just end up rotting there, I just don't know, but it just seems a way of paying respect. And so that's my plans really. I've booked the trains to and from, I've booked the first couple of travel lodges, and the reason I wanted to do this camp tonight was I wanted to sort of try out some bivy shelters using some basher poles. Gosh, it's getting really steamy in here. Oh, I know what it is. I'm drying some wood. I better get that off the stove. It's really pumping out the heat. As I was talking to you then, I suddenly was aware of lots of smoke filling the tent up. What it is this cage. So any sort of semi-dry wood with a little bit of dampness in, I just put that on the cage, and after a while they just really start to burn. You've got to keep your eye on those, and that's what was happening then. I've still got the door wide open. It's very, very mild. When I started cooking my meal, at first I thought, I don't think it's going to be hot enough to do any cooking, but you've just really got to let it do its stuff. Don't be too impatient. You've got to really let it catch and burn. Just be patient with it. It does pump out a lot of heat. For cooking, you've got to give it at least 10 minutes, I would say, after you start feeling the heat on your body, if that makes sense. Hello, good morning. It's now about 7 AM on Tuesday, and I just laid in my tent last night on top of the sleeping bag at first, and then eventually I got into it just as the fire roared away. It's so cosy in there, and then it burnt down to embers, and then it eventually went out. You could tell the temperature of the tent started to drop, so I sort of zipped myself up in my sleeping bag. What I was really aware of, two things actually. First of all, some planes went over really low, and I suddenly realised a lot of planes follow the coast either up or down, and then they turn almost at right angles out into the Bristol Channel, then do a 180-degree turn, and then make their final approach to Bristol Airport, about 10 miles over that way. And it wasn't just one, it was quite a few, almost like a rush hour for about 2 hours. That's all I heard. And the other thing was, I woke up at one point in the night and was amazed how light the tent was, because there'd been it wasn't a full moon, but a big moon rising up over there, and it was really overhead pretty much all of the night. Breakfast is served: sausage, bacon, mushrooms, baked beans, tomato ketchup, black coffee. Bon appetit. Had a lovely breakfast, just enjoying my coffee now, and I'm boiling some soapy water in the frying pan. Found that the best way to keep it clean, and also boiling some more water for more coffee and the washing up. I got plenty of water. I picked up 2 big 1.5 litre bottles at Tesco's when I arrived yesterday. A few other things I was going to add about my June heritage trip last night. I had to stop filming because I had to see the smoke that was coming from the burning logs that I was trying. I'm also going to visit places that were bombed and shelled in the First World War. So it was the first time, I believe, in modern warfare where civilians were involved. So the first ever bombs that dropped on England were in a Zeppelin raid at Great Yarmouth. So I'm going to visit the site of that. And also several coastal towns were shelled by German battleships, and they had huge guns in those days. And to give you an example, I'm going to go and see Lowestoft, which was shelled, but I read up when I was doing my research about this unexploded naval shell, 15-inch naval shell that went through a terrace of houses. It went through the walls of 13 houses and then embedded itself in the 14th, and that's, I guess, shot from a couple of miles out to sea. It just gives you an idea of the power of those sort of weapons. Thank goodness it didn't explode and nobody was hurt, but it just brought it home to me, the power of those sort of weapons. And also the unexploded shells were a big problem as skilled labour went off to war and unskilled labour was brought into munitions, and all sides faced that. And another fact I became aware of the other day, actually, there were accidents and explosions in munitions factory. The biggest explosion in a UK ammunition factory caused more damage than all the Zeppelin raids and all the heavy bomber raids from the Gotha bombers later on in the war. Probably need to conserve the battery a little bit, so I'm going to pack up and I'll maybe speak to you as I'm about to leave and then at the railway station. I'm now successfully back at Oldford Park, my local railway station. I live about 2 streets away, so I'll be home in a matter of minutes. I wasn't able to film much this morning because my camera on the phone, just the battery got very, very low, and I use my phone for everything. I even use it for a modem these days. I had my e-ticket for the train was on it, so I had to make sure I had at least 10% left, so I used it very sparingly. Look, funny enough, I'm just being able to top it up with the USB port on the train. I did have power packs, but I took smaller ones thinking they'd be enough, but they weren't. I'm going to have to take my bigger one in future. So it's been a fantastic overnight camp. You know, the hot tent was fantastic to use. It did get a bit chilly last night, and then it rained during the night. My main memories are just how light the tent stayed, because the moon rose, I guess, soon after dusk, and then it's not quite full, but it's almost full, and it was overhead most of the night, and then it sunk down, and it was just lighting the tent up all night. I actually woke up at 3 o'clock, had to go outside, and everything was just bathed in moonlight. And the other big memory was all the planes coming over. They were doing their turn in the Bristol Channel to come in to land at Bristol Airport. That was quite amazing, actually. Just plane after plane after plane for about 2 hours, I guess. They sounded really low. All the experiments I tried worked fantastically, including taking the bike on the train. I used my basher poles. I just used a bit of tarpaulin because that had brass eyelets in it. I have got a 3x3 basher at home, so I didn't really want to take the full size one out, but just it was good to refresh my skills and just build a basic shelter, and that's what I'll be doing in June. As I said, I've got the first and the final night in a travel lodge, and then after that I'm just going to ad hoc it. I'll probably have pub meals, cafe meals. I'll take a small meths burner, you know, just play it by ear basically. Although my hooped bivy bag is waterproof, I do want some sort of shelter over it, even if it's just to put the bike underneath or just to cook and eat. Anyway, gonna literally wheel my bike up here, ride just the other side of the railway station, cut the streets, and I'll be home. So as usual, I'm going to sign off. So thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, take care, look out for each other. See you next time.